But first tonight, all the other cable channels are leading with Trump, and varying degrees of speculation over word from a Florida judge he might release parts of the search warrant application justifying the Mar-a-Lago raid. There are a lot of questions here, none of which anybody knows the answer to, or at least those that do know the answer aren't talking. We're going to get to why Trump might win no matter what is in the warrant and no matter what is released in just a minute. But before that, something we all used to believe in, a group that we all used to count on, is now in crisis, the FBI. Or at least our perception of the FBI is in crisis, and our leaders certainly seem to have a different perception of the FBI than they used to. Gone are the days of Elliot Ness, the old-fashioned lawman who took down Capone. You think he was ever threatened? You think he really cared what would be on Twitter about him or what was in the papers? Gone are the days of the G-men who stared down the Klan in Mississippi or chased Russian spies. They were threatened. They didn't care. The FBI protects us. That's their job. Now the media and a large part of America tells us the FBI needs protection, or at least somehow can't take care of themselves. Let's say at the onset here, threats against the FBI, as we watch one of the attacks against them in the video on your screen, are bad. Threats against anybody is bad. Violence against anybody is wrong. Yes, I do know about the guy with a nail gun and the rifle at the FBI office in Cincinnati. But let's step back a couple of years. Law enforcement has taken it on the chin, starting with the BLM riots through COVID. It has been incredibly difficult on law enforcement. Of course, there are the January 6th riots. That laid bare that violence against law enforcement comes from both the left and the right. As we've said, it's wrong. But our point here is not political. It's more of a question about our leadership. Why do our leaders think now that the FBI can't take care of themselves? Somehow threats against the FBI are a new thing. They face threats every day. They have for decades. The FBI goes after bank robbers. They go after drug cartels, drug runners, terrorists, the mob. The list goes on. They hunt spies. Those are real threats. FBI agents are often threatened. But suddenly a bunch of wackos in their mom's basement spout off on Twitter and cue the meltdown.
You're seeing these people saying that, FBI agents are the people to target.
I mean, look at what happened yesterday, where you have this person who goes to attack, if he'd been able to get in, perhaps to kill FBI agents.
I heard such reckless rhetoric coming out of the Republican Party immediately after this legal search.
If politicians start to encourage people to commit acts of violence against the FBI, even if you say defund the FBI, there's a violent fringe that will say, I want to take action.
FBI agents are supposed to take care of us. They're supposed to protect us from the people who would, quote, take action. And anybody who threatens them or attacks them deserves what they get. But that's not what we heard, actually, from the FBI director.
Any threats made against law enforcement, including the men and women of the FBI, as with any law enforcement agency, are deplorable and dangerous.
Of course, threats are dangerous. That's why you sign up for the FBI, to protect us from dangerous people. It is dangerous work. That's why we applaud the rank and file of the FBI, and we are glad they are on duty tonight. If someone wants to attack the FBI, good luck. The guy in Cincinnati learned that. So why exactly is this an issue? James Gagliano is here, served 25 years with the Bureau, including as a senior team leader of the FBI New York's Field Division SWAT team. It's good to see you, sir. We appreciate it. I want to read this from the FBI director. This is his statement. Unfounded attacks on the integrity of the FBI erode respect for the rule of law and are a grave disservice to the men and women who sacrifice so much to protect others. Violence and threats against law enforcement, including the FBI, are dangerous and should be deeply concerning to all Americans. Did a lawman write that or a PR man write that?
Yeah, Leland, it's good to join you. And I think it is discomforting for a lot of Americans to hear this. The FBI has been around for 114 years. It was started in 1908. And I think around 1933 or 1934, we're given the right to carry firearms because a couple of FBI agents had been killed while attempting to serve a warrant. Look, I think sometimes politicians, in their overheated rhetoric, whichever side of the aisle it is, can lead to unhinged people doing unhinged things. And at the top, you mentioned it. Recently in the Cincinnati field office, we had an unhinged man come there and try to kill FBI agents. And you can go back to the congressional baseball game a number of years ago where a Bernie Sanders supporter showed up and tried to kill Republican congressmen. That sometimes plays to that fringe element. The vast majority of Americans, the vast majority of people in the world, they don't want to do things like that. They don't want to threaten an FBI agent or threaten law enforcement. They understand that that is the thin blue line between us and the criminal element. But in these times, it is a concern, and I know there's a lot of chatter as we monitor chatter in law enforcement.
I get the chatter, but I think about J. Edgar Hoover on the other side. For all of his flaws, which were clearly many, I can imagine him walking out to the front of the bureau rather than surrounding it with bicycle barricades and saying, bring it on, like he did to the mob and to Russian spies and to all these other people who threatened FBI agents that they then took down without fanfare.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a great point. J. Edgar Hoover served at a different time, right? Born in 1895. I believe he was 29 years old in 1924 when he took over the reins of the Bureau and served under 8 presidents from Calvin Coolidge all the way to Richard Nixon, a total of 48 years. I hear you, and I agree with you. And I'll share something that I've never shared on TV before. When I was a supervisor in the FBI a number of years ago, I was the victim of a gang threat of violence. And look, I'm no hero, and I'm not, I don't pretend that, acting with bravado is a good thing. But it comes with the territory. You know that when you're putting the mob away or you're going after violent street criminals, you know that this is going to happen. You have to do due diligence. We want to make sure that we protect our folks. But you're right. The FBI is law enforcement. We're the thin blue line, and this is part and parcel of the business.
I'm wondering if there was a press conference when you were the victim of that gang threat to say how deeply dangerous it was, or if you guys just went and took care of business and sent the message that way.
Yeah, you can't walk around, looking over your shoulder your entire life. You've got to be careful, and the FBI certainly put some security protocols in place. I think the difference here is, and we do exist in unprecedented times, I think, the difference here is that you're dealing with it coming from a former president. You're dealing with, the comments about possibly FBI agents planting evidence at Mar-a-Lago. Now, that kind of stuff is infuriating. Yeah. Now, the FBI typically tunes that stuff out, but it's that one person, that guy down in the basement of his grandparents' home, clicking away on his keyboard, who gets emboldened and hears that siren song. Those are the ones you got to worry about.
I am a little bit worried, as somebody who revered the FBI, actually thought of joining at one time and held this out as an institution beyond reproach. Would you advise somebody now to join up, a young man, as it is something that has become so politicized and seems so much more academic and political, both partisan and just political in the way that it operates than it does an old-fashioned law enforcement agency?
So I spent half my life, 25 years out of 50 years, serving in the FBI, and it breaks my heart. I think just recently, Rasmussen Reports put out a poll where fully 1/2 of Americans do not trust the FBI. Now, when I retired back in 2016, I believe the FBI enjoyed favorability ratings of somewhere in the 95 percentile. What the concern is here is that senior political appointees, the Attorney General, who's in a political appointment, and the FBI Director, a political appointment, and the people they surround themselves with at their headquarters are making decisions that don't pass muster. The vast majority of the FBI, 36,000 men and women, are good and decent people. It's the decision-making at the top, and I'll wrap it up, Leland, by saying I would have to give thought to telling somebody in today's environment to go into law enforcement. It is a profession fraught with perils that I didn't have to deal with during my 25 years.
Yeah, that says so much, James. And we appreciate you being with us. Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, us too. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.